$300,000 or below home that they want to insure, and their contractual definitions aren't bad for that type of a home that you're dealing with. So we've always talked about there's no absolutes in financial planning. Just because someone has State Farm, we'll knock on State Farm a lot, but if they have a home value that's a low enough price that can be commoditized across across that big of a, we'll show market share in a minute. It's not the worst thing possibly that they could have. Erie's another one that I think is the best of the captive agent type groups that are out there. But those are agents, and you've got to know that I wouldn't call them a vendor or an advocate for you or for our clients. They are an agent of that company who's going to act appropriately for that. A broker, is the opposite. They work for you, the client. For us, is the liaison between the client to go out and work with the carriers to determine what's the best way to deal with this situation that someone has in placing new coverage. What's the best way to be an advocate for someone in terms of a claims scenario that they can help fight for the client versus hold the company line and sorry, that's how we're going to deal with this, and you've got to live with it. So I personally, and I think most people, prefer the broker relationship that we have for our clients than the agent. But note that in certain small situations or certain situations, we have a lot of very wealthy clients that have very small dollar amount homes. Some would argue that's how they have the net worth that they have in the grand scheme, that they don't need a guaranteed replacement cost policy if it's a $115,000 house in Morristown, Indiana, right? They don't need the bells and whistles as necessary for it, even though they may have a pretty healthy net worth, around that. So be conscious of that, and don't just throw State Farm under the bus. You better understand what type of a dollar price or dollar value of a home or situation they have before you start throwing stones at their career.
Yeah, I would say anything over $500,000 is where State Farm starts to break down, maybe closer to $350 or $400 in my experience. You move above those dollar amounts, that standard contract just starts to fall apart in terms of what it will replace in terms of finishes. Write that number down. Don't write that down.
I use 300 on the thing here. So I use under 300 is where they're okay, where they I wouldn't say shine, but where they're serviceable based on that particular instance. Then I use the 300 to $1 million as kind of a different crew, and then $1 million and above is another crew. So, but to Chris's point, that's a murkier line. But you really just have to understand the definitions of what they'll cover, because there's a certain price point at a certain dollar value home. I don't care if it's cheaper, you shouldn't have it. You should pay more than what it is, because it's such a difference from a contractual relationship on what you have. There's some company directs out there too. That's another one that I think, and those can be.
USA is the best one.
USA. If you have anybody that has USA, good luck.
Take USA.
Good luck. Yeah.
It's hard to beat.
Just go with them.
Don't argue. There might be incremental savings potentially. There might be better service if they went with an agent instead of dealing with an 800 number. But clients who have USA love it, and it's actually pretty good stuff.
And
Dan Powers told us, he's like, it's hard to beat USA.
And note that they call San Antonio, which is where their corporate headquarters are, where that 1-800 number calls, and they're the friendliest customer service group ever. Don't waste. Evaluate it. Check. May go down the list, but it's time wasted to try to replace that for the military. Anybody know why USAA? What the background is on that?